This is Jean Moore with More Than Sports. I have a very special guest on the show tonight. He is a former walk-on for the Florida Gators and now somewhat of a TikTok star, Clifford Taylor IV. Clifford, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. How you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
All good. All good in Florida.
I'm sure you are. But the weather's beautiful there, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean it's been bipolar the last few days. Like yesterday it was raining. Today it was it was pretty chill. So it's been flip flopping the last few days.
What's the temperature been like there?
It's been the 60s and 70s as of late. It hasn't really been that cold. I think we had like one little stretch of cold in like mid-January, but that was about it.
That's perfect.
It's been relatively warm.
That's perfect. It's been here in Oregon, been pretty rainy, and the last few days, though, it's been in the 60s. So when that happens here, everybody takes it as it's like 80s, and cars are washed and yards are mowed, and
I probably do the same thing.
We live it up here. So you were a walk-on at Florida, which we will talk about for football. We'll talk about that in just a second. But you played basketball growing up pretty much your whole life and excelled at it. In fact, you were a 3-year captain in high school and 2-time all-conference. So talk to me a little bit about your basketball days and what's one of your favorite basketball memories?
Well, you kind of picked it all up. I've been playing basketball since I was 2. I still play today. I think some people, they don't get that. Like, I still hoop for fun today. But growing up, it was really just the only sport that I just became attached to because I would watch, the Kobe's, Shaquille O'Neal's, and being from Carolina, you would watch like the old Hornets for a little bit. I didn't see much of it because by the time I was, growing up, they had already relocated. So I kind of grew up on the Bobcats, now Hornets. Mm-hmm. And so just going to Bobcat games because we were season ticket holders for years. And so I grew up watching it. I just grew up on basketball. It was just one of those things that I knew that I was good at. And see, that's the thing is like once I know I'm good at something, like I usually just try to run with it. So I kept playing basketball, from the time, like I said, I was 2 all the way up, to middle school, high school, did the whole AAU circuit thing, which was really cool. I recommend anybody try AAU and go to the Nike circuits, the Armour circuits, all that jazz. It's really fun. It's a really great experience. But yeah, so as far as favorite moments, I personally, I don't tell a lot of people this, but I still consider my team in high school, my senior year, I still consider that team my favorite team that I've ever been a part of. And that includes the Gators because like all of us, we knew each other since about middle school, and the way we came together that year. And a lot of people don't know this, but one of my teammates just abruptly passed away like in the middle of the season. We were just practicing. We were practicing one day, and about 3 hours later, Aaron. His name was Aaron Barker, by the way. But like 3 hours later, we were getting messages that he, collapsed in his bathroom, and so that was really a roller coaster year because the year before that we were all new to the varsity level because they pretty much just brought the JV team for sophomore year and just brought it up junior year. So we were kind of new to the varsity scale, but after having a year of experience, our chemistry was like that. And so we were untouchable. We were undefeated in conference play. And when that happened to Aaron, we all just kind of came together and we were like, we are not losing a conference game. We're gonna win this championship for Aaron. We're just gonna, do whatever we need to do to get through the playoffs. That didn't turn out so good, but I mean, nonetheless, we got a conference championship. I still think that's one of the best moments I've ever been through because at that time, like the saying, everybody loves a winner. So that whole season, our student section was crazy. I mean, it was literally sold out every single game, and so we played at a neutral site, one of our rivals for the conference tournament championship game. And
Mhm.
after the game was over, everybody just stormed the court, almost like we beat Kentucky or something like that. So that's still a moment I still think about to this day. I still get goosebumps. I have my jersey like right here that I look at almost every time I walk in my room, just as a reminder. It's like that was, that's a moment that can't no one take away from us. So,
Mhm.
rest in peace, AB. But yeah, that was my favorite moment.
Well, and a lot of times adversity like that, especially something that tragic, definitely brings a team closer together and motivates you. And I think that's amazing, because it can go one of two ways. Either it kind of distracts you and makes you lose focus, or you gain more focus from it. And obviously, you want to do it for them. So sounds like that's a pretty amazing memory to have the fans storm the court. Like that's big time. Like that's, that's college, even though it was in high school.
Yeah, I didn't even know they could do that. I thought we were all going to get in so much trouble, but they didn't care. We didn't care either. So,
Well, and I read somewhere that your mom actually played basketball.
yeah. So it's crazy because she played basketball, but she wasn't really the one that was showing me all the sports. It was really my dad. He tried to get me to play everything: baseball, flag football. Briefly, he even made me do karate. All just like every sport you could think of. But I just always gravitated towards basketball, and he had to accept that going into middle school and high school, because like once you start playing team sports, it's like you don't have time to be doing all this extracurricular activities, and so I just stuck with basketball.
Well, and how tall are you?
6'6" or 6'5", 6'6".
Yeah, okay.
Somewhere in that range.
You're pretty tall.
Yeah.
So then you went to University of Florida, and you're going to walk on for basketball there. And then a coaching change happened, which kind of derailed that. What was that experience like? I mean, was that disappointing to you, or how did you deal with that, and what did you think about that whole situation?
To be honest, I think it was very humbling, because growing up and trying out for my middle school team, my high school team, and even like AAU teams, like I never experienced the whole idea of not making it, or not making the cut, or being cut, and for that instance. So it was very humbling, because I felt like I was like, okay, well, things happen for a reason. It just wasn't in the cards. I just instantly assumed that my time of playing sports was totally behind me. So, after that whole thing happened where he left to go coach at Florida Atlantic, like I said, initially I was upset, but I didn't really let it, stick with me forever, because I didn't want that to be the reason that I have a terrible college experience, because college is still college. Florida, ain't nothing better than UF, in my opinion. So when that happened, I just kind of went in this mode. It's like, all right, what's next? And you had intramural basketball, which is nowhere near the same level, but something close. So
Right. Now, did you have offers to play basketball in high school? Did you get any college offers?
Yeah, mainly D2, D3. The only big people that I spoke to for basketball was West Virginia and Clemson, but it was nothing more than a couple conversations. It was never anything like, hey, we want to offer you a full ride. It was never anything like that. So once I got a couple D2, D3s, I'm like, yeah, I just want to go to Florida, because I mean I had the grades, so I was like, okay, if I get accepted to Florida, cancel all school visits, cancel all that, I'm going to Florida. So I was pretty spoiled with the whole decision, but they let my mom run wild.
What was it about Florida? Like, why did you want to go there so bad?
Mainly because my whole family, we're all Gators. My dad, my uncle, aunt, cousins. I don't think we have any we don't have any Hurricanes, no Seminoles, no Bull. Like it's straight Gators. And I grew up, of course, in an era where we were dominant in basketball, football, everything. And so my childhood was very good to me. The Tebows, the Chris Leaks. He's also from Charlotte, so I got to give him props. But just like all of those guys, like Brandon Spikes, Ahmad Black, Major, like I could name so many because I used to keep track of them almost like an insider. I was just so hooked, and so at a young age, I always knew that I wanted to go to Florida. But I never, it's crazy. Like even growing up, I never really thought of the school aspect. I just thought of the fact of being a Gator. And so when I actually took a couple of visits in high school, that's when it kind of like sunk in. It's like, all right, now I really want to be a Gator. Before I just wanted to come here just to watch these teams, win on Saturdays or whatever the case is. But now that I actually took a tour and they have my desired major, I was like, oh, this is heaven. Let me. This is where I want. This is where I want to go. So when that application opened up, I opened it. I applied right away. I didn't even give it a day. I was like, Dad, we are gonna sit here for an hour and a half or two, whatever the case is, and we are gonna fill this out right now. So I was hooked on to Florida. I would get excited because after you take the the PSATs or the ACTs, they'll send you like letters saying like, hi, welcome to Florida, or like Florida is a great experience, and you think you're getting like an offer from school already, so they already kind of juice you up a little, but yeah, that feeling when I finally got accepted, it was just like it was like I was like, all right, you guys can have fun going to Clemson, UNC, whatever. I'm going down south to Florida, and ain't no one telling me otherwise.
Well, and how amazing to be able to actually go to your dream school. The school that you've wanted to go to since you were young, where obviously you have a rich history as far as your family goes of going there.
Yeah.
How amazing is that? Now, I've read about this, but I want you to tell me about the whole how you got to be a walk-on for the football team, because you have never played football in your life, right? Before that.
Right. Unless flag football count, I did like a couple weeks of that, but I was like 6. So.
Yeah, that doesn't count.
Yeah.
So tell me the story, because this is amazing to me.
Yeah. So I'll fast forward to about sophomore year. So
Sophomore year in college.
Yeah, sophomore year at Florida. Uh-huh. So a few friends of mine and I decided just one day out of the blue to just kind of like expand our horizons, because we were pretty dominant in rec basketball, and so we were just like, let's do something else. And so they were like, let's play flag football, and we all just kind of were like, well, we don't have this, we don't have that, so we all had to go out of our way and get like cleats and gloves. It was really messed up about that. We almost messed around and got a helmet because we didn't know. But we didn't know the measures that we were taking as far as playing flag football. We thought it was the second thing closest to tackle football. So we were like, okay, we need to get like pads, impressions, all that. But we just got gloves, a couple of footballs, and it's crazy because we dominated. Like I think the only game we lost was to like a group of 30-year-olds in the playoffs. But like we were just so dominant, and of course, I was a mismatch on everyone because like all the guys were like 5'9", 5'10", and all I had to do was just put my arms up and just snag it. So one day, we're playing, and one of my good friends who was on the team at the time, Quaylen Crum, pulled up to our games, and then there was this other guy who pulled up just drenched in like Gator gear, because our athletes on campus they walk in all the merch, all the gear and all the stuff like that. So I didn't notice him, but I was like, oh, he must play for the Gators. So that game, I had like about 4, 5 touchdowns. I was dominating. And so he just came to me after the game, and he asked me if I ever thought about playing football, and Quaylen was with him. And I told him honestly, I said no, because I never played. Like I've never played a down football in my life. I've never been to the hospital for a concussion, none of that. So I don't even know what that's like. But he was just telling me, about his experience, being a walk on and all that, and like why I should do it. And this was just kind of like out the blue. So I was just like, well, that's kind of weird. And so I told my friends what they were saying, and they were all for it. They were like, "Yeah, you should totally do it." And I wasn't expecting that response, but I was like, "All right." And so that week was leading up to the LSU game, and that was Coach Mullins. That was like his first signature win. Like that was the point where it was like, all right, like the Gators are back. Because my freshman year, I don't even like talking about my freshman year. That was but yeah, that LSU game and just seeing like how wild like the student section was, like it was 90,000 just like screaming the entire time. And for some reason I kept looking at like the Gators sideline. I'm like, man, like that's, I wonder what that's like. And so that night I like sat down and spoke to like my friends and family again. And I was like, I'm gonna give it a shot. The worst thing that can happen is I don't make it. And I can at least say that I tried. So I called my mom and I was like, Mom, I'm gonna try for football. She was a nervous wreck because she obviously she didn't want to see her baby get his head popped off. My dad was the total opposite. He was all for it. He was like, yeah, son, do it. And I'm like, I guess it's now or never. So I want to say from October 2018 to February of 2019, I just tried to get in shape. So at that time I was about 6'5" and like 190, 195 on a good day. Like I was very skinny. And so for weeks and weeks, I was just lifting every day, taking, protein shakes, just doing what I could to, try to get stronger. And so, it got to the point where I got to about 220, 210, 220 range. At the same time, I was working on, my craft a little bit. Quaylen, who's actually neighbors with me in Orlando, he's actually pretty close. I would ask him if he had any like cones or any drills that I could do, and like he would help me out. And our friend Samante, he used to help me out as well a lot. So that December leading up to the Peach Bowl when we played Michigan, I was just training. And so my family and I went to the Peach Bowl where we beat Michigan. And I remember telling my dad, I was like, Dad, you realize it's gonna be the last game where I'm sitting in the stands with you, right? And so he was all like pumped up and juiced up about, of course, getting free tickets because that's the first thing that came in. So anyway, so fast forward to the tryout, and it's only 4 of us. It was me, my friend Mike Weir, who was also a walk-on running back. Our friend Cayman, and another one of my friends, Kyle. So the 2 of us made it. They didn't make it, unfortunately. And it was during this period called the dead period, where you're not allowed to have like in-person recruiting, or you can't use a ball during drills and stuff like that. So my tryout wasn't really anything new to me because I was playing basketball. So I was used to the footwork. I was used to the agility. So for me, it was like gold. It was like, oh, this all I gotta do. I'm like, let me so I was just doing the drills. I was trying not to put my hands over my head or any of that. Just, but I'm not tired. And so tryout is like 40 minutes. So after that goes by, they tell us, the usual. It's like, we'll let you know tonight if you made it or not. And so I think like 2 minutes after that, one of our player personnel guys, JC, we call him, John Clark, he asked me what my class schedule was like. And I gave it to him. And I'm pretty sure I got to ask him if he said it, because I'm pretty sure we're going to have a conversation about it now. But I'm pretty sure after I said that, he said, see you tomorrow. But he kind of whispered it. So in my head, I'm like, oh, snap. Did I just make it? So I'm like going to my car, about to make a whole bunch of phone calls, posting my Twitter, all that stuff. And so before I could even do that, he knocks on my glass, and I'm like, what's going on? And he told me they would love to have me right now, but your schedule kills you. And I'm like, what do you mean my schedule kills me? And he said, the time that you practice the time that you have class is the time that they practice for spring ball. And so in my mind, I'm like, okay, does that mean I'm cut? Like, what does that mean? And he's like, no. That just means you have to wait until until till the summer to start. And so I was like, I gotta wait again, really. And so it was frustrating because Mike, he's a dear friend of mine. I hated him for those couple of months because he would just post on the Snapchat videos in the locker room saying what's up to the vets. Like at the time, it was like Freddie Swain, Van Jefferson, Lucas Kroll, like all those guys, and he was in there with all of them. And I was like, man, this is some, you know what? So that whole semester that came and went, and so here comes summer. May flies by, June's flying by, and it's like around June 20th or something. So I'm like, this ain't happening. I'm actually starting to give up on it. So I'm like, this ain't happening. And sure enough, John Clark, he called me and he said, "You ready to go?" And I'm like, "Yeah, okay, all right." I was just laying down, but hey, I guess so. And so he was like, "All right, make sure you come in tomorrow. You know, you gotta get the physicals, the EKGs, like all that good stuff." So, you know, when I'm doing all this and I'm looking at the trainers, I'm seeing like all these players like walk in, and I'm trying not to fangirl because like you got, like I said, you got Felipe Franks, you got Kyle Trask, Kyle Pitts, Lucas Kroll, like all these guys just like walking in. It's like, and so like in my head, I'm like, are we teammates now? Like I was trying to hold it in. So, yeah. So after that, I was in there, and you know, I met Coach Savage, which was so exciting because you know you see videos of him bringing a whole bunch of energy, but seeing it like firsthand, it was like the coolest thing ever. And so, yeah, after that, I was rolling for 2 years, and it just came and went just like that.
I'm sure. Now, what was it like that first time? The very first time during a game that you got to run out of that tunnel? What was that experience like?
Well, for me, it was just like, I mean, I was thinking there was just so many emotions. Like there was the emotions of, you know, where I was just like a year ago as far as training, you know, how rough training camp. Look, I don't think people understand this. Training camp is awful. Like it is just weeks, just consecutive days of just all around football for 22 out of the 24 hours of the day, it seems like. But getting through that first camp is just like running out for the first time. That, I mean, and you can see it too. Like if you see the picture, you can see a picture of me. Like I think it was the Miami game. I didn't dress up. I didn't dress out that game, but you could see me front and center. Like I made sure that I was in the front, and so like it was just like so many emotions. But then the first time I dressed out that next week, it was just like I almost had to like fight back tears, but like people couldn't see in my helmet. And so like, I was running, and I'm pretty sure my feet were not touching the ground because I was just, like I said, I was just on cloud nine. Like everything was just happening so fast. And so, you know, just pumping up the crowd and seeing people like pointing at me like I was Michael Jackson. I was like, oh, this feels good. Like this is rejuvenating. This is an amazing feeling. But yeah, nothing really compares to that. I mean, you talking about 90,000. I mean, it's wild. So
I'm sure. Well, and going from a fan, never thinking about playing football for the University of Florida, to then being on the field. Like I can't even imagine the excitement and just how surreal that must have been.
I gotta give credit to though. You know, some of the walk-ons did hold me straight because I was just like, because before that I was just like I couldn't stop moving. I was just so like into it. I was like you're really doing this, but they really calmed me down because honestly, if they didn't calm me down, I probably would have ran all the way into the crowd. You know, I'm like, yeah, but you know, they helped me keep my composure. So kudos to them for that because I'll admit it, man. My first year, I was a goofball. I was just like, I was experiencing it, and I was just like, I couldn't contain myself. Like anytime there was a camera, I was like, so. I will admit now. I mean, I can joke about it now, but I think I'm pretty photogenic. So if I like look across one, I'm gonna be like, hey,
right here. This is what you want to focus on.
Yeah. I mean, it's cool to joke about now, but at the time it was like what is this kid doing? But
Right.
we talk all about it now.
So what's one of your favorite moments playing? What would your favorite, if you could pick from any of the moments that you've had for 2 years playing for Florida, what's one that just sticks out to you?
Man,
I know that's
I
probably
would
tough.
say, yeah. There's so many, but I'll talk about the scene like after the Missouri game this past season. That was our homecoming game. That was a game where we had the we of course we had the halftime malice or whatever. But that week leading up to it, I was having like a really good practice week. I didn't know what it was, but I just had so much energy, and I was just like really focused, like during scout periods and like during tight end periods. Like I was just having a week, and so usually they'll have a list before Saturday of like players that are dressing, and so the SEC has a rule where they can only allow like certain players to dress. So usually it would just be the scholarship players. So I kind of came in. I was like, yeah, I'm probably not gonna dress. I'll probably just sit out the whole season. Cool, no big deal. And then I saw my name on the list, and I was like, oh snap, because I'm like, wait, is that right? And so Coach Bruce, I asked him, and I had a little goofball still in me my senior year, but I was like, hey, Coach Bruce, am I dressing? And I kind of looked at him like I was a fan. I was like, am I dressing? Like, and so he was like, "You been working hard, haven't you?" I'm like, yeah. He's like, "You want to dress out?" I'm like, heck yeah, I want to dress out. Like what? Like that's what kind of question is that? And so when I saw my name on that list, I was like, oh, yo, and it's Missouri. Like there might be a chance I get in this game. Like you never know. But yeah, leading up to that game, I mean, I was so happy. Like I'm sure you can find pictures from that game where I was warming up. And you could literally see me smiling like a puppy, like through my helmet. I was just so happy, and I was just like looking around, like I didn't care if it was only 18,000 people. I was just a happy camper, and so that kind of led up to, of course, halftime where the brawl happened, and a lot of people don't believe me when I say this, but I didn't even know what started it. So that play, it was one of our like just Hail Mary plays. And so Kyle threw it, and of course Kyle Pitts is down there. He's getting triple teamed. So I'm looking down at the end zone and seeing like, oh, did he catch it? Didn't catch it. He was triple teamed. He's like, all right, no big deal. So I start running to the locker room. And as I'm running, like people start standing up and like pointing like in another direction. And I'm like, whoa, what's going on? And all I see is Coach Mullen just charging like to the opposite sideline. I'm like what's going on? So, and then just like all hell broke loose. And then you can see, like, there's a clip where you can see me on the bottom right, just walking back, just confused as ever. Like I'm doing all of this. I'm like, what is going on? But that, if I,
and you missed it.
Yeah, like I missed it. I mean, I wasn't gonna get involved because I ain't no fighter. I'm a peacemaker. But
exactly.
But the scene in the locker room in halftime and after the game, because we ended up beating them by like 30. But the scene after both instances in the locker room, it was just so cool. And that's one of my favorite moments when Coach Mullen came in and he dressed up as Darth Vader because it was Halloween night. And so we were all just dancing, jumping up and down. And then here comes Coach Mullen, just like out of nowhere in a Darth Vader suit. And we're all just like, who is this guy? And then he takes over like Coach Mullen. So
oh my gosh,
that was a pretty cool experience. And there's actually like a video of me like next to him, just like dancing. And I had my phone around him, and I was like, Coach Mullen, over here. Like we were all just having just an amazing time. But like I had so many countless memories. I mean, like from the Orange Bowl, Auburn game, the Florida State game, like the list goes on. But that's one that I remember vividly, Missouri.
Now you have made the academic honor roll. Grades are very important to you. Where does that come from? I mean, have you always been that way? Or, I mean, where does that drive come from for good grades? Because it is important, but some kids don't take it serious.
Hmm. That actually, I mean, I've been a pretty good student since I would say third grade because um like so because I have a pretty vivid memory, but like second grade, um that we didn't even have like an A B system. We had like you either get a 2 or 3 or a 4. And so, I was at the time I was a good student, and so there was one section about like it was just about like about reading, and I loved reading books and then there was one section where I got like a 3. I think it was a 2 or 3. I don't remember. And I remember just going home just bawling my eyes out. Like my parents were telling me it was good, but I was bawling my because I was expecting 4s, and so I just remember going home.
Oops, lost you.
I was so upset about that. And then after that, I would you would literally see me go in the library like every single day. Like they actually called me the library kid in elementary school because I used to go in there so much. And so, once I started going in there and just picking up books, and I just took it up a whole nother level. And so from the time, like I said, from the time like second grade up to now, my grades have been pretty straight, like A's, B's. I can't even think if I've ever had a C, but C you get degrees. So but grades have been important. My parents have been advocates of good grades. They always push me. They always put a limit on the time that I play video games, which I'm actually thankful for now because when I was younger I thought they were just being pain, not allowing me to hang out with my friends sometimes. But I mean, they got me into my dream school, so I can't really complain too much about that. But yeah,
Right.
anybody trying to play football, grades are important. So just
Yeah,
letting them out there.
they're very important because you can be the best player on the field no matter what sport you play.
Oh
But if
yeah,
your grades aren't there, you're not getting into college.
nowhere. You ain't going nowhere.
No. So where does that drive and determination to succeed come from? Because obviously, so this is kind of a two-part thing because whatever you do or whatever you want to do, you do. So where does all of that come from?
And it really comes from my parents. Growing up, whenever I had problems or whenever I had something or an opportunity come my way, they would always ask me this like list of questions as, okay, you're going to do this, but why are you doing it? And how are you going to go about doing it? They always had this thing about thinking beyond what's being written or what's being asked. And so they've always taught me how to, look beyond and, be able to, excel beyond what they're asking for. So for example, if you ask me about a formation or a concept, I would probably go into this whole spiel of like, okay, we're going to run this. And then I'll explain why we're running it because like a certain defense is playing this certain coverage, and for example, they might bite a play. So if you run a certain level or a certain amount of yards, like they really instilled that in me. Also a little bit of Kobe Bryant because Kobe Bryant was my favorite player growing up. Even being a Bobcats fan or / Hornets fan, he's the reason 8 is forever my favorite number. And so just like seeing how he went about, his business and handling the game. One of my favorite videos ever is when he was in the finals against Orlando like 10 years ago, and they were up 2-0, and you could just see this frown on his face, and he's like, "What's there to be happy about? Job's not finished. Is the job finished? I don't think so." And so I just kind of took that with me in like everything, school, basketball, like even when I got accepted, like, yeah, I was excited, but like when I had to go back to school that next week, it's like, all right, job's not finished. I still gotta, maintain these grades because if you don't maintain them, they could easily take that away from you. So I definitely think my parents helped me a lot with that, and definitely my icon Kobe Bryant. Rest in peace, Mamba. So
Mm-hmm. Now, what's one thing that you want to accomplish in your life? If you could do anything, what would that be? Like, what do you want to accomplish?
it would definitely be keeping my circle around me happy, keeping the communities around me happy. That's something that I've kind of grown into, becoming sort of this, I don't like calling myself this, but influencer, and just seeing how people react to some of the videos that I make, and how people, reach out to me saying that they wanna, be a walk on. They wanna, whether it's football, basketball, heck, it could even be for lacrosse. They'll ask me like, how do I go about, doing it? And so if I can be, as they say on TikTok, like the CEO of a certain thing, like if I could be a CEO of the walk-ons, I would, because I'll give it to them straight and honest, because people will say, I want to have a career just like you, and I tell them straight up, I said, no, you don't. And then and they'll say, what do you mean? I said, look at my stat line. Do you see anything? Do you see anything? And they'll say, well, no, but I'm like, there's no but. You shouldn't reach just to be like me. You should excel beyond what I did. I'm sure there's plenty of other walk-ons that have stories like mine, but it's like they probably panned out a whole lot. I mean, look at guys like Baker Mayfield. He was a walk-on. Dude, Cat won the Heisman. He was a #1 overall pick. So, I definitely keep it real, keep it in perspective. I don't sit here saying that I'm the greatest of all time, that I'm the best walk-on to ever walk this earth just because of my story. Like that's not a realistic way to think. And so I definitely keep it real, and I also let people know how I feel about reality. Like I remember like last summer with everything happening around the world with George Floyd, Jacob Blake, Breonna Taylor, the list goes on. I was very vocal about that. And granted, I lost some supporters, but for me, it wasn't about that. It was for me to bring awareness that it's like, okay, like I can sit here and inspire about being a football walk-on, but I want to also be able to sit here and inspire you about what's happening to brothers and sisters in my community. Like if I can keep it real about football, then I can keep it real about what's going on in the real world. So that's why I try to like branch out in both spaces. So that's why I feel like this year I was so much more involved with just using my voice and using my platform. Like I did a video for Florida football talking about one of my experiences with a cop when I was like 14. And so if I just think if I can use my platform the right way, then people will gravitate. But then again, it's like at the end of the day, I just want to be able to keep the people around me happy and inspired, and of course, a career wouldn't hurt either, being a homeowner and all that stuff. But definitely being an amazing storyteller and just inspiring the people around me.
That's great. Sounds kind of like you want to be somewhat of a world changer, and it sounds like you're kind of on your way to doing that. Having a voice, being able to use your voice and help those kids that ask you questions as well. It's kind of well-rounded. You definitely want to educate people on what's happening, like you said, in your community and in the world, and still be able to help those that have questions for you about sports as well. And I think that's great. I think it's great to use your voice for good. And when you're an athlete, you kind of do have that platform. Right. So, if for nothing else that you walked on at Florida to do that, like how amazing is that?
Yeah.
So that's great. Now you are going to be a part of the social media team. Tell me about how that opportunity came about, and because what was your degree in?
Graphic design.
So this kind of goes along a little bit with that. So tell me about that opportunity.
Well, it all honestly just kind of went hand in hand. So last December, when the perfect TikTok where people would put, so and so should respond, so and so should follow, the whole jazz. And so the Gators, they commented on one and they said, "Do us next." And I was like, "Okay, you guys already follow me. What do you want me to do?" And so I was like, "Oh, I'll issue a challenge." I'm like, "Okay, follow me on Instagram, Twitter, the whole thing, and let me take over Florida Gators TikTok for a day or two." That was a stretch. Like that was a huge stretch because the Florida Gators platform is huge. So very, very bold of me, kudos to myself because looking back at it now, I don't know if I'll ever do that again. If I,
we have a comment here. Sorry, hold on. There's a comment for you.
Oh man, I appreciate it.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, but so anyway, I issued the challenge. They responded about a week or so, and they're like, "Are you serious about doing a takeover?" I was like, "Yeah, if the opportunity, if the moment is opportune." And so a few weeks later, I get an email from the manager of the social media team, and I was like, "Oh snap! Am I really doing this? This for real?" And so he just said, here's a document, put in anything that you want as far as ideas for content for the takeover. You can include the mascots, Albert and Alberta. You can do whatever you want. And I was like, oh, cool. And so I had a whole like page of just stuff. Like some stuff we could do, obviously, and other stuff, we just couldn't because it was just like above and beyond. But I was just trying to do everything that came to my mind. And so I had that list for about a good month. And so around the end of January, that's when we set a date for it. That's when we, we're like, okay, we're actually gonna go about doing this. So they gave me, at the time, they gave me the TikTok stuff, and they just gave me full control. And going into it, I was very scared because I was like, I only know a handful of athletes. I don't know, I'm not gonna sit here and say I know so and so from lacrosse, swimming, and so I really had to hustle and try to like communicate with these athletes, even though I never met them before. And going in, I was like, this is not going to work. But sure enough, people were responding. People, were saying, yes, we want to be a part of it. And I'm like, oh, thank you, God, because I was just going to show a whole plethora of just football stuff and call it a day. But it turned out so good. I mean, I was able to get a couple of the Hoopers on the women's basketball team. My boy Joe on the golf team. I got to hang, of course, with the football team, the soccer team, all that good stuff. And it was just such a fun experience. And, if you scroll down the Florida Gators TikTok, you can see a couple of goofy videos of me. One of them ended up on SportsCenter, which was amazing. Once I saw that, I was like, all right, I'm not fired. I'm not fired just yet. Like this turned out okay. So I did the takeover, and it was so fun. And I was telling them, it's like, yo, I was like, if there's anything I can do to help, that would be amazing. And so about a week or so later, they were like, you want to do content with Albert and Alberta? And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, yeah. I was like, I got a whole bunch of pictures with them, but I can definitely stand next to them. So we did this whole thing where we went around campus and we hung out in the O Dome. We were playing basketball, did a little basketball video in there. Albert threw me an alley-oop, which was really cool. And I remember after that, me and his name is Bruce. Me and him had a conversation, and he told me, he was like, if you ever think about helping out with the social media team, let me know. And so I was like, cool. And like that was an idea that I had in my mind. I was like, okay, I'll think about it. So at that time, of course, I was doing, things, applying for other internships. Of course, I got the Wilson thing going on now. And so I remember just thinking about it one day. I was like, if I can get involved with the Gators, that would be amazing. So I reached out to the Gators team, and I was like, hey, I would love to volunteer, love to help out any way I could or any way I can. And so they were like, here, you got to fill out this, and this, and this, so you can be a volunteer. And then had a Zoom with them last week, and so they were very welcoming with open arms, and so yeah, now I'm volunteering for the Gators. So it's crazy how that works. You go from a walk-on that's never played to now being a part of the social media team. Like it's unheard of. It's crazy.
That's awesome. That's so that kind of catapulted your TikTok career, or did you already have that going? Because you are somewhat of a TikTok star. I looked at your account, and you have some likes on there, just a few, million, and then you have like 281,000 followers or something like that. So, it's no big deal. But tell me about that, and kind of how cool is that to be able to put your photogenic personality on TikTok and have people actually watch it?
Yeah. So, no offense, Gators, but I already had a little bit of a following before I did the little takeover. But it's cool because for me, I don't really. I mean, I have a filter, but then again, I don't, because it's like I do things on here that I enjoy to do, but I also keep it in perspective. It's like, okay, you know, what will people love? People love football content. I play football. I can tell you everything you need to know, from stereotypes to things that coaches do and all that good stuff. I mean, I can do basketball too. Like listen, I ain't played hoops in a while, but that doesn't mean I ain't got a basketball IQ. So I can do football, basketball. You know, I can just do stuff just being a black guy. You know what I'm saying? So like for months and months, I would just create content like all over the place, and especially during quarantine. Like when quarantine happened, I would do TikToks. There was a time I did TikToks for about at least once a day for about a month. Like it was, like I honestly have no idea how many videos I've made on TikTok, but I'm sure it's in the 200 or 300s, including the throwaways. Like it's somewhere up there. And I remember there was a phase, I would say around May or June of last year, where my TikToks were just on fire. Like there was, like, I can confidently say I don't think there was any football creator on that platform that had the month that I had, because there were videos I had that ended up on Sports Center, House of Highlights, Bleacher Report, Overtime. Like I was all over the place. Like my signature one, I'm sure a lot of people have seen it. It's one where I have headphones on and I'm like listening to like the pregame music, and it's like what people think I'm listening to and what I'm actually listening to. And it was like the Big Time Rush song. And so that's what really catapulted my TikTok career. Like that was my signature. And then from then on, people just started tuning in, followers just started going through the roof. And by the time I was working with the Gators, I was already at 200K, but they helped my platform, but I also helped theirs, because like I remember, so when I started, I think they had about 112,000 followers. And by the time that I finished that takeover, they were at like 150 something.
Wow. So you need to take over my TikTok then? Is that what I'm understanding?
I mean, they're already a step ahead of me. They got a blue check, so they had a little advantage. But yeah, I mean, just they helped me, I helped them. It was cool. It was really, really fun. But yeah, TikTok's a fun app. People sleep on it still. I still encourage my friends, and I try to get my roommates on the wave sometimes too, because TikTok, I mean, it's just a fun app. It depends on which community you're around. Like if you want to see, what's their names? Addison Rae. If you want to see Addison Rae, Charlie Mill dance, watch them dance. If you want to see people do football stuff, there's a community for that. There's a community for basketball. Like there's just so many. And I think I kind of blended in. I don't want to brag, but I think I blended in the perfect one, because it's like basketball, football, being a black guy, just being aware of what's going on in the country. Like I have a whole like plethora of all this on like my trending pages, and I think it's just an amazing platform, and people should really take advantage of it, because it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun.
It's a lot of interesting content on there, that's for sure. Entertaining as well.
Entertaining, some questionable, some just dark humor. It's everything.
It's everything. Well, let's see. This Big Pat 6161 has a question. Can you see that?
Yeah. What's one player gameplay you will never forget or talk about 10 or more years down the road?
And you may have answered that.
That's an easy one. When it's between two. Same game, but two plays. The first one, when Freddie Swain took it like 60 yards on the opening drive against Auburn, and that was like our homecoming throwback game, and that was another signature win for Coach Mullen. It was loud. And then the second one, obviously everybody remembers this play when LaMichael Piron just took it at 88 yards to the crib. Like, and it was crazy because before that play happened, we had made a couple like of stops on defense, and we made a couple plays on offense, but we needed a spark. And once he broke that first tackle, I was like, oh snap. Oh snap. And then I just saw him go, and like I didn't even react. I kind of just like froze. Like there's a picture of me where I watch him, and I'm just like I just froze. But like the swamp, like it was just, it's one of those things you had to be there. Like the swamp was shaking, the swamp was crazy. There's nothing. I can honestly say, as far as crowd reactions, no one makes a bigger crowd reaction than Florida when there's like a big play. And that includes Michigan, Penn State. Like I can honestly say, like anytime a big play happens, the swamp is the loudest. Easily the loudest.
Now, what do you want to do after you graduate? Because you just have a few semester, or do you have a semester left? How far are you? Yeah. So you're getting close there. What do you want to do after you graduate?
Well, throughout all of college, I was just looking for, work for graphic design firms, whether it's, sports related or working for a college team, or that'd be a dream job, being like working in the creative media department for, heck, the Gators, the Panthers, the Hornets, like just working for a sports team. That's a dream job for me. And another career that's kind of catapulted in the past couple of months is honestly social media, because now that I'm, done with the NCAA, I get contacts from all kinds of people, about, being a potential influencer for them, or being a potential partner for them, and just seeing the opportunities that swarm in, just off of social media. It's like, well, I can't say no to this. This is an amazing opportunity. So if I can find a way to blend in my graphic design and social media, that's a dream of jobs. That's a dream of dreams right there. Probably bigger than football, to be honest with you, because that's where you're making this. So.
Correct. That's right. Now, what do you want to be known for? At the end of the day, what do you want to be known for?
A guy that always believed in this philosophy that there's no such thing as it being too late to chase a dream. Whether that's in what's up, Gators, whether that's in sports, or just being a world changer. I think I just want to be known as a guy that could say that he inspired people, a person that did it the right way, and used his platform, for good, and a guy that's always been clean cut, and a guy that's never had. Because honestly, I don't usually have a problem with anybody. I'm one of those peacemakers that like it's hard to disappoint, but I definitely want to be known as a guy that inspired people to chase their dreams, inspires people to go beyond the stratosphere, kind of like I did with the whole football thing. So I'm gonna be an advocate for always telling people to keep dreaming. Anybody that tells you can't make it to the big leagues, okay, because Kobe Bryant was told, in high school, they asked him what he wanted to be. He said he wanted to be an NBA player, and they told him to say something that was more realistic. It was realistic to him, and look what happened to him. He turned out to be one of the greatest players to ever play. So that would be my main thing. I know it's easy in this day and age for people on social media to drag you down and stuff like that. It sounds easier said than done, but block out all the negative noise. And that's kind of what I do with social media. Because the only negative thing I really get, I don't even really consider it negative. I just consider it the truth. Is I'll post a video and someone will say, he's like, yeah, but he doesn't play. He doesn't play. But it's like, you're right, I don't. But if you know me and you know where I came from, maybe you would understand a little. So I just want to be known as someone that puts smiles on people's faces, whether it's people who are 53 or someone who's 3, it doesn't matter. Just someone who people can look upon as an inspiration. So that's what I want to be known for.
Well, and I think that you're definitely well on your way. It's one reason why I wanted to have you on the show, especially after I read your story, because you always, you kind of don't let anything stand in your way. And if you want to do something, you do it. And I think that's the mindset that people need to have. And that's a huge reason I wanted you on the show. I have some high school kids that watch, and I just wanted them to be encouraged by what you had to say in your story, because it doesn't matter where you come from or if you've played a sport or not. I mean, you're living proof of that. And so if you want to go after something, go after it. I mean, that's really the bottom line. You're never too old. You're never too young. I started doing this 3 years ago, and, I'm old. So, I mean, it's that kind of a thing. Like, this is something I wanted. It's the same thing for you. If you want something bad enough, work towards it and do it.
Right.
A lot of times there's no excuses. So, you are definitely an inspiration for those that, hear your story, and people can learn a lot from what you have to say and the way that you live your life, being that voice, like I said earlier, and, being that person that wants everybody happy and being the peacemaker. And, I mean, I could go on and on. And this is the first time I've talked to you like this, and I can already tell. So, you're definitely an inspiration. You're definitely on your way to, being known for those things that you want to be known for. So what's one of the biggest obstacles that you've had to overcome, and what did it teach you?
Honestly, not playing, not getting in the game, because, in basketball, I was, back home, I was one of the guys, like I was one of those guys who started, who was used to playing, used to, getting sweat on his jersey, or in my case, getting sweat on my pads. But that was one of those things, obstacles that I just had to, I don't want to say, well, I guess overcome, but also kind of accept, because I kind of went in with that chip of like, all right, I did good in this basketball thing, and I kind of came in with that same attitude of like, all right, I could do that with football too. And I can admit now that I kind of came in with like a little cockiness, a little bit of swagger. But it humbles you. It humbles you really quick. I mean, when you see those playbooks and how they like draw things up on the board, it's like it humbles you. It really does. It lets you, brings you a little bit back to earth. Like, all right, before you can even get out here, you got to understand this. Almost like school. It's like, in order for you to get incentives, you gotta thrive in the classroom first. And so that's one thing I can admit. My first year at playing for the team, my knowledge was mediocre at best. I knew that there was 11 guys on offense and 11 guys on defense at the same time, but I couldn't tell you. At that time, I couldn't tell you what this play, and it would be the most simple plays. I mean, I say that now, but at the time, I couldn't get the simplest of things. And so that whole season, like I was just real. Sometimes I would be like real stubborn and stuck with myself, like why am I not getting a chance? We're up by 50, but it's like at the same time, if we're up by 50 and they put me in and I mess up, ain't no one really playing for myself. So it was just one of those things that I had to accept and understand. It's like, these things are not handed to you, especially if you're just a dude who lived in Springs Complex, who walked on the team and just was like, hey, here I am. I've arrived. And so that's why I'll always be appreciative for the 2 years that I had, because that's like that second year, it was easy. The play camp was a lot more fun because you knew what was going on. And like, sometimes like I'll joke with my G at the time, his name was Julian Alonzo, great guy. Anytime he would send me a signal, I would just kind of joke with him. It's like, yeah, I know that, but like I think our relationship got a whole lot better because that's the thing. It's like I had to gain the tight ends respect because to them it's like, who is this kid? So that's one thing. That's another obstacle that I had to overcome, getting the respect from them because, like I said, to them it was just like who does this kid think he is? And so actually that would probably be the main one, getting their respect because like before they barely even say a word to me, and rightfully so because I mean if you were, I just think of myself like why did I even act like that, my junior year, but I couldn't help it because in basketball I was the same way and it worked. So you take that same approach, but like I said, you get humbled, but I'll always be thankful for that, and I can honestly say that I think I earned the respect from every tight end that I played with in the time that I was there. That's one thing I know for sure that I can say.
That's great. Well, and I don't doubt that you kind of have that infectious personality. So I think you would be really hard to dislike, and not respect. So
I appreciate that.
I don't doubt that that they ended up respecting you probably a whole lot, especially after they knew your story and where you came from and that kind of a thing. So last question, what advice do you have to others, whether it be, not letting things stand in your way or, life in general? What would your biggest piece of advice to others be?
Two of my favorite words, BA, I call it, be authentic. That's really all that's really all it comes down to. It's fine. I just had a conversation with this Black Student Athlete Council that I'm in with the Gators, and how that's what I try to do on my platform, because I see a lot of times where these athletes / content creators, they just become Hollywood, and they just act like they're too big for everybody, and then they act like they're better than everybody. For me, that would be hypocritical and selfish of me, because also I've never really thought that way, because my mom, she's always kind of been a stickler as far as my social media goes. She'll be like, I saw you do that, and I saw you do that. I'm like, yeah, Mom, I'm okay. But it's all about just being your true self, being authentic, and really, like I said before, blocking out the negative noise. Like, so what if people think you're corny or cheesy or whatever the case may be, or so what if you never played a down while you were there? It doesn't matter. It's like, if you have a checklist and you mark off everything on that checklist, then you have no reason to be down on yourself. No matter if you get there and people try to bring you down, it's like, yeah, but do they understand what you did or what it took to get you here? So for me, that goes for whether it's with football, whether it's with social media. It's like, do you understand the sacrifice and the risk that I took to get to where I am? So, but while you're there, while you're doing all of that stuff, do not lose who you are, because that goes back to what I was saying about athletes like losing themselves. Like, they'll have girlfriends, and then as soon as they become Hollywood, they just throw them out the window. And I've seen that from a couple people. I won't say their names, but like sometimes they'll just throw them out the window, and it's like I couldn't live with myself, making that transition. I'll always tell it how it is. I'll always express my opinion, whether you agree or not. Like, that's one thing about me. I'm always gonna keep it real. I should get that tatted on my arm. I don't have any tattoos, but I should get like BA or something like that, like maybe here or something. But that would be my biggest message. Just be true to yourself. I appreciate that.
And then this is the last one, and this is what I relate to for you. You're definitely a great role model. So I think that's some of the best advice because it's true. You know, people do go Hollywood and they think that they're better than everybody else when in reality, you're the same person that you were. You know, if you make it in the league, you're just making a little bit more money than everybody else, but that doesn't mean you're better. That can be taken away in a second. So, you know, I think that's amazing advice. That would be a great tattoo. I think you should put be authentic though, maybe not BA, because before we go, what is your TikTok so others can view that?
Just take away my last name and my suffix, Clifford. That's all it is.
It's just Clifford.
It's Clifford. Yeah.
That's
I was able to talk to a few TikTok people to give me that name change. So it was, yeah. Before it was just my full name, but I just asked them. I was curious. I was like, "Yo, is it possible I can get Clifford?" And they said, "Yeah, it's been inactive for like 6 years." I'm like, "Oh, that would be slick." And so they gave it to me. So every time I go in there now, it's like, "Oh yeah, yeah."
So if you're watching this and you have TikTok, make sure to give Clifford a follow at just Clifford. And I've watched quite a few of his TikToks, and some are very informative, some are very entertaining, some are a little bit of both. So you never know what you're going to get, and they're amazing. So, you know, like Big Pat 6161 said, you're definitely a great role model for the future kids. You know, you're somebody that people can look up to, and you know, that's what I love. Those are the kind of people I want on my show, you know, so that others can see and follow you and, you know, ask you questions. You're very relatable. You're gonna answer questions and things like that. So, you know, you didn't go Hollywood. So when you get even bigger on TikTok, just remember this interview.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I thank you so much for taking the time. I know you're busy, but thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. This is Gina Moore with More Than Sports. Thanks for watching.